what is my actual plot. Struggling with motivation today. I had planned on already finishing a video by this time, starting on a different one, editing a different video. I was going to be super productive today, and I ended up waking up an hour past when I meant to, and then taking longer doing my breakfast and all of that, and then I realized I hadn't scheduled in when to take a shower, so I'm running really behind, and I have somewhere to be at like 5, so I'm gonna have to get moving here. So last night, as I was trying to fall asleep, I was just struck with inspiration, and now I don't remember what it was, honestly, because it was already like midnight at that point, so I knew if I got up to write it down, I would never fall asleep again. But I realized the direction that I should be taking my planning is different from how I've been doing it. I don't know, it's not that I've like wasted this time, because I have come up with some good stuff, and I'm definitely gonna like use that information, but I'm realizing I am coming up with more information now if I start imagining that I'm writing the book already. So instead of like thinking, oh, what are all of the elements of the story that I want to pull together, I have a lot of that information now, so I feel like I need to sort of switch gears and move more into imagine you're going to write the book, and like what's the first chapter going to be about, and then move into like where does that go from there, and then I start seeing holes in my story where it's like, oh, I need to figure out this character, like the guy goes to class, I need to know like what class is it, who's his teacher, what is he learning, and so it's just little bits and gaps that I can fill in that way, because that's what I'm going to get most stuck on. Because I feel like once I start writing, like, all I want to do is write the big scenes of, like, the fun plot points and all of that, and all of the filler stuff is what I get stuck on. So I feel like I need to plan out, like, what is going to happen in those scenes. Throughout the day, I'm just going to kind of keep my mind open, keep myself sort of in the story, and then write things down as I think of them without like sitting down to really focus on it, because I know I have a whole bunch of other stuff to be doing that's Preptober related. Like, I need to fill out my bullet journal, which I should be releasing a video on here soon. I don't know if it will have already come out yet by the time you see this, but yeah, so I'm just gonna try to like live in the story. That's one thing I like to do, like even during NaNoWriMo, like if I don't have time to write, I'll just have my mind be in the story for a while. Like, I'll be at work doing, like, busy work or whatever, and I'll just be, like, thinking about my story. And eventually something will, like, pop up, and it's like, I have to write it on a note card and stick it in my pocket, and then inevitably forget about it, and it goes through the wash. But anyway, so we'll see what I come up with today in the middle of everything. I need to finish getting ready and start doing videos and editing, and I also need to clean the bathroom and mop the floor. Alright, most of the day later, I have finished everything but one thing on my list of things to do today, and I have about half an hour to work on it before I have to leave. So I'm meeting a friend and we're gonna go walking, and I have to edit a video in half an hour. I'm probably not going to finish. Luckily, I'm not posting it till Sunday, supposedly, I'm hoping. So, by the time you see this, it definitely should be out already, so I guess you'll see if I got it done or not. You'll probably notice how much of a mess my desk is already. It was literally just clean last night. It happens so fast, so that I feel like is going to be a struggle for me this year, is just keeping my desk clean, because I feel like I get so caught up in trying to get everything done that I just throw things everywhere, and then I'm too overwhelmed to try to clean them up. So that can't happen this year, and I'm going to try to figure out a system of like paying more attention to my area and so that it doesn't get like this, first of all, and also just taking care of it when it, before it gets bad, so that I have a place to work. Because if I left this like this today and then worked again tomorrow, it would be twice as bad. And then eventually I won't have a place to work. So I gotta get better at that. But that's a goal to work on. So we'll see. Preptober week 2 is rendering right now, which I wasn't even supposed to do till Sunday. So it started off as a really unmotivated day, ended up being very productive. I had a great time with my friend at dinner and on our walk, and I just feel like I got more done today than I was expecting to, even though I had a rough start. So all in all, a pretty good day. So I feel like I never really update anymore, and that's mostly because I'm always at work now when I write, because that's my life now. I basically live at work. But I have actually planned quite a bit since I updated you last. Today is the 27th. Preptober is almost over. Tomorrow is the last day of week 4, and then I literally have 3 days to get everything done. So it's still a little intimidating. It's still coming up on the end, but I have gotten quite a bit further than I was last time I updated you, so I just thought I would go through some of the planning that I've done and kind of show you what my process has been. Since I went back to work, the majority of my writing is done on my 15-minute breaks and during my lunchtime. So it's not a whole lot of time, but when it's all put together, it kind of actually ends up being quite a bit of work that I'm able to get done. So since the last time I updated, I still have, so Any Other Name is the story that I am like 99% sure that I am going to be doing for NaNoWriMo. I mean, I could possibly still change my mind, but I doubt I will at this point because I've gotten pretty attached to it and I'm getting pretty far along in the planning at this point. So I've got my beat sheet for Save the Cat that I went through, filled all of that out. I was switching things around, basically just got it all figured out, the main plot, which is, I guess, the A story. And then I went back through and added his B story into that because that is what I'm most attracted to in a story, is the main character's B story and like what they're learning. And then after that, I basically started on character profiles. After that, whenever I get stuck, basically I just resort to a stream of consciousness, right? I write whatever I'm feeling at the moment. I'll start with what I already know about the story, and then that will eventually lead into something new where I'll find a question. I'll ask a question like, when will Mark and Sydney get closer? And then I'll talk through the issues and like, okay, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Until finally I end up kind of just talking myself to a solution. After that, I have some notes about YouTube that's irrelevant here. Then I have a character that I realized after I did my free write about her has connections to World War II. So I had to do a bunch of research about her and about ages and like how old she was when things happened and what she would have experienced and what life would have been like for her. So I had to do a whole bunch of notes about that, which then of course influenced the plot quite a bit. And then I decided at that point, I feel like this might have been where I updated last, that I realized that I needed to be focusing more on imagining I was just going to write the story. I had an image in my head of what chapter 1 looked like, but after that I was kind of stuck because I didn't like what I had had before that. So basically, I took all the information that I did know about the story and just started to line it out chapter by chapter and see how far I could get before I started running out of ideas. And I got about to chapter 6, and I was really starting to get the ideas were really starting to get thin. So at that point, I realized I needed to figure out what was going on with the different subplots, because I would start writing about one character and then think, oh, well, I haven't talked about this character in a while, and I'd end up including a chapter after that about them, and then I'd work on there, and then, but then I'd think, well, then what about this other thing that was going on? And at that point, I was just getting really confused and not really knowing where all my subplots were working together and what was supposed to happen before what, and that's the hardest part for me about planning a novel, is all of the minor details and knowing where to put them. So what I did is I wrote out a list of subplots. Basically, I split it up between characters. I felt like the most important things were the relationships between each of these characters and how they were progressing through the story. So I found a subplot that fit each relationship and figured out through that how it was going to go through. So I would do, okay, so Mark and Mavis, and I would write about each of these characters and like how did they meet, and what were they like at the beginning of the book, what were they like in the middle, and what were they like at the end, what was learned, what sort of plot points that affects. And then I did that for each of the characters. So there's like Mark and his mom, beginning, middle, end, and then all of the things that affects in the plot. And then I've done that with each one of those. And then for the last subplot, that is the one that I haven't quite finished yet. There is a friendship between a few characters that I had in my first attempt at this story, and I really did not like the way that story was going. So I struggled with trying to decide if I was going to even keep those characters. In the end, I did decide to keep them. I'm just going to kind of change them a little bit. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to be changing them to. I just know that I need more characters because it's really not realistic for a high school boy to have only one friend and not speak to anyone else ever. So I need to flesh this story out, have realistic, believable characters. So I'm keeping them in, and I've worked a bit on character development for them, is how I've been dealing with this last kind of plot that was going on. And there's a lot that I don't know yet about them. There's a lot that I've kind of figured out, and some things over the past few days, especially yesterday, I was able to figure out quite a bit. I was able to basically answer 2 questions I had by combining them. It was awesome. I didn't know how one storyline was going to end up, and also I didn't know what I was doing with these characters over here, so I just put them together and it solved the issue. But yeah, I still have to figure out some things there, and once that's done, I've got to go back through the story, figure out what is my actual plot, because that's kind of important when you're writing a book. Having a plot. I mean, you don't have to, but then no one will want to read it. And I want people to want to read my book. So I better have a plot. Once the subplots are all figured out, though, is when I'm going to pull out the note cards and reorganize things. And hopefully I will get this all done before November starts. And if I do, I'm going to try to film my process of how I organize everything on the note cards, because I think it's kind of a cool process and it makes it a lot easier for me. I don't know if it would help anyone else, but we'll see if I have time to do that. Do you know how little you are? Are you just so little? Yes.